Jamie, just quickly on the draw that we've just done, because Arsenal will face Brighton at home in the next round. How decent a draw is that for the Gunners, particularly given the fact they're at home?
It's not an easy draw.
No.
Brighton are a great side. They've got a lot of good players. You know, you've seen it again yesterday with the boy they signed who gets 4 goals. Signs from Inter Miami. They've just got a brilliant scouting system. So there's always some other players that players like. They've got lots of goals in the team, so it won't be an easy game at all. But they'll look at it and think home draw, good draw, and they've got Champions League, lots of games coming up. But the biggest one is next weekend. You know, the weekend coming up against Newcastle. They got bashed up against Newcastle a few times, certainly in this competition, and they've got to make sure they go out there and withstand that pressure. It's a big one.
They don't have a great record at St James's Park.
They don't, but not many teams do. It's a really hard place to go. Mike and I were just talking about it. They play with such great energy. They make it really difficult for you. With or without Isak, they're still a very tough proposition. So looking forward to that one. They need to get some momentum going. I know,
but looking at that, Brownie, because we've talked a lot about how tough an Arsenal start it has been for them this season. But when you look then at those run of the games, there's an opportunity there, isn't there, to begin to develop some real momentum?
You would think so. I mean, the Champions League does become difficult. Olympiacos, you'd say, yes, they'll be fine. Atletico Madrid. But, you know, I feel like last season I felt like they were really heavy favourites in the Champions League. I felt like they were going to progress. They missed their opportunity. I feel like their recruitment has been good. It will take a little bit of time for them to gel and mix in. The pressure has increased, though, on the whole football club of Mikel Arteta, and that's something just hanging over them slightly. And I feel like he's getting a little bit edgy. He's a little bit nervy. He's normally a little bit more relaxed for me. And he's making different decisions that are not really pleasing everybody.
Have you picked up on Jamie? Because it is so early in the season, is it? We're not in the absolute pressure cooker of the title race beginning to reach a crescendo. But Michael's right, isn't it? There's an edginess to Arteta that we see at this stage of a season, or are we being overly analytical?
I have to be honest, I think there's always a bit of an edge to him. You know, I've never really seen him comfortable when I watch him on the sideline. In his technical area, he never stays in it. He's always bouncing around. He's always agitated. I would find it difficult.
I don't mind that, though.
Do you? I don't
because
like
I feel like he's on it. He wants
to stay in the technical area.
He does.
No, but they should get booked if they come out of it. That's what they should do.
Well, then it's consistent, but it's never consistent. I think he's done a really good job. I really do. And I feel like it's a little bit harsh on the situation. I know you've got to win at some point, but circumstances don't always help you with that. But I just feel like he deserves a touch more. I do, honestly, I really do.
So why not this?
I think he's getting a touch more. I think he is getting that. I think this year he'll look but I suppose if you go to Liverpool, your title rivals, you're at home to Manchester City, you don't get the results. You're 5 points behind Liverpool. You're just starting to get a little bit of pressure. That's how it is, because I think everybody now looks at this squad. He's been given exactly what he wants. They've got strength in depth. They've got players that can come off the bench, good starters, so they feel like they're ready. You know, and I agree. He's done a good job, but he needs to go and win something now. And I think that's the pressure that he's under. But do I see a different Mikel Arteta? No, I don't. I think he's always been like that, and that's what I think that's what makes Arsenal fans absolutely love him. But I think that's what makes him sometimes difficult to watch if you're not an Arsenal fan.
Do you feel like tactically? Do you know we talk about so many times about his tactical awareness? Do you feel like he does overthink it at times, and he does maybe look too far into situations that he doesn't need to? Because
I think that goes for a lot of managers now, though, Michael. I think a lot of managers like to micromanage. They like, tactically, they think, how can we undo the manager and what can we do differently? I thought the weekend, I listened to the guys afterwards, and I couldn't agree more. I think with the midfield that he picked and that balance, it was almost like he went in there to make sure they didn't lose, to be good at set pieces, very big midfield. I would love to have seen him go with Eze. And he can turn around and say, well, I want my finishes, I want the players to come on. But when you're equalising with a couple of minutes to go and you're chasing the game, and you can say you controlled the game, you were 1-0 down. So, of course, you're going to have the ball. You're at home. That's what happens. But I feel that they've not perhaps hit the edge. Gyökeres is going to be... He looks
got
like
work
a slow,
to do, hasn't he?
Yeah, he hasn't worked yet. He hasn't worked for me. He's got a couple of goals against Leeds, but the games like Manchester City, that's what you bought him for. That's the difference maker that you want.
And are you on the same page as Thierry Henry recently said that he has to win something this season, silverware-wise?
I think if he doesn't, I think he comes under enormous pressure, they're not at the moment, because we're so early into the season. But if he doesn't win, then you'd have to say, another manager, is there anyone else out there that could probably do as well, if not better, with that squad? Because that squad is ready to win. You can't keep throwing money at it, and there'll be other managers out there that I'm sure they'll be looking at thinking, all right, if Mikel Arteta can't do it, there'll be somewhere else. And that doesn't mean to say he's not a good manager. He's obviously shown that in the past. But when you're managing and you're spending the money that you are, one trophy since 2020, isn't big enough. It isn't enough for that for the enormity of that team, and they're ready. And they have. And Michael was right to us. Obviously, to a large extent, they've been so unlucky at times. And I think back a couple of years ago when Manchester City went on the most amazing run. I think they won the last 13 games to just pip them at the post. Last year they weren't good enough. Liverpool were too strong for them. But it does feel like this year they've got to get after Liverpool and they've got to make sure they keep themselves in it. Going to Newcastle the weekend, that feels like one of those games.
You're doing that game, aren't you?
Yeah, you have to win. I feel like you've got to go there and get a win just to keep that momentum up.
Out of that place, St James's Park, that is easier said than done.